This is Talk Star Wars, the official podcast of talkstarwars.co.uk. Hello everybody, welcome back to Talk Star Wars, episode 79. I'm Mark.
I'm Stephen.
And I'm Paul.
And there's no Rob this week because he's off at the proms
Hooray!
or something. Listen,
Shame.
Don't cheer for his absence.
He probably,
he would expect it.
He'll have a delayed opinion, that's all.
Yeah.
When he listens, Mark, he'll be like, oh,
he's probably feeling this.
Hooray.
He's feeling it through the force right now. Yeah. So no Rob this week. He will be missed. He's enjoying the music of John Williams at the proms. A little bit jealous.
That's awesome.
I don't mind telling you. A little bit
That
jealous.
is more, that would be my type of thing, even more than watching Star Wars.
Yeah. He's not going to be there himself, unfortunately, because I don't think John does a lot of travelling these days.
I think he's also out, doesn't he?
I think he's also involved in probably writing,
he's probably
mixed in and everything
he's
else.
Probably doing something quite important with regard to The Last Jedi, isn't he?
I can guarantee it. They did. I'm not kidding. I left Interstellar so long, like a fool, considering I'm Mr. Nolan, if you like. Well, not actually him, but the night I watched it, I swear to God, Zimmer was performing it in Royal Albert Hall.
Really?
And you got to be kidding me. And I'd waited that long and I didn't know. If I'd have seen it, I'd have been like, that was, I was lost. And the night I'm watching it for the first time, Zimmer's at the Royal Albert Hall conducting the damn thing. So, yeah.
Well, I bet that was a long concert.
If it was... yeah, well, it's just a guy who falls asleep on a church organ, really, isn't it?
It depends what was it? What was it? Interstellar, did you say, Rob?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a great soundtrack.
It is, but there's a lot of church.
I love all that tonal stuff
going on. Yeah, it creates a really, really good atmosphere in a very left field environment, I thought.
Yeah. Did he do Last Samurai? Or was that?
I think he did. Yes,
that's one of my favourites. If it was him.
Last Samurai.
Love that soundtrack.
I'm sure he did Last Samurai. You've got that Google thing in front of you.
What? That's witchcraft. I don't use it.
Just for legal reasons, I'd like to point out that Google is not, in fact, witchcraft, and that does not reflect the opinion of Talk Star Wars.
There are also other available search operators that are equally as... No, they're not.
So don't burn any Google employees at the stake.
All right, let's try and get this podcast back on track. So before we get into the meat of it all, we're going to do a few thank yous. So we want to give a big thank you to Robert Weston Jennings, who became a VIP this week and joined us this evening in our Facebook Live group. Thank you, Robert, and welcome to the gang. And also many, many thanks to a whole group of people: Sally Gollop, Charlie Cheeseman, Terence Mulvey, and Kavumbi Joseph, who all liked our Facebook page this week.
You just made all of those names up. I'm sorry.
The first two are actually my work colleagues.
Okay.
You're being a little rude to these people if you don't mind.
They're lovely names. They're very individual, but they don't sound real.
Kavumbi is another... There you go, that's another
awesome Star Wars name, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
yes, they're all Star Wars characters. That's what you've done.
For some reason, the Facebook page this week, I've had to go looking for the new likes. It told me there were new likes, but I had to go looking for them. It didn't deliver the results for some reason. Facebook, you have to get back on your game. Things are not going well.
Face poop.
Indeed. All right, there are no reviews this week, but if you would like to take advantage of our Ron Burgundy policy, which means whatever you write in a 5-star review, we will read verbatim. So if you want to promote something like a podcast or a blog or a new business that maybe you've just set up or you're selling stuff, then that's the place to do it. There's only one rule: keep it clean, because we have a family show here, and so we don't like that rude stuff. We leave that for the After Dark side. And now we're going to move into listener comms, which we've got quite a few bits of this week. So if you want to send us questions,
ask a question.
Mm-hmm.
Just as a sidebar, if anybody wanted to give you a 5-star review that was for After Dark Side, would you allow that?
Yes, indeed. Yeah, I think we've done one previously. Yeah, if you wanted to leave a review for a specific show, it doesn't have to be the main show. If you want to leave a review for the Toy Box or for the comic show or any of the other things that we do, then feel free, and we'll work out a way to get that review to the correct people, and they can read it on there. And yeah, if you want to leave it on the After Dark side and you want to fill it full of profanity, you'll have to find a way to creatively write it, because iTunes will find that and take that down. But yeah, fill your boots, do whatever you need to, and then I'll have Steve read it, because He's probably the best swearer out of the lot of us, I
love
think.
a bit of swearing, me.
You do love it.
It's because I've got limited intelligence.
Yes, you do.
I would.
And that
Well, I
means
wouldn't
that I
agree
swear
with
a lot.
You have the IQ of a spoon.
Yeah, well, you could just... No.
that. Careful now. All right, let's move into listener comms. So if you want to send questions and comments to us, you can do so via Twitter or Facebook, or you can send us an email. And if you attach an MP3, I'll use that as a voicemail to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com. We're going to kick things off this week with a message from Ads. This came through as we were recording last week, so I just rolled it over to this week's show. So he says, "Hi chaps, if you were directing a future Star Wars film, which locations in the UK would you choose to film at?"
Oh, man.
For me, I'd choose the wild and rocky moorland of Dartmoor in Devon. Could picture a Jedi temple amongst the tours. Have a great show. Hi to the gang. Ads.
You throw these at us so quickly
Yeah.
sometimes.
UK locations for filming a Star Wars movie.
Do one each, and then we'll have another rotation.
Okay. Well, it was kind of done in Rogue One, but something like the sand dunes of, I can't remember the Welsh beach, is it Pensy? Or even Camber Sands, something like the sand dunes in those areas have become.
That's a good one, Camber Sands.
That is a good one. Paul, what about my choice? Are going to be down by you, Paul. When we've been down to you, down on the coast, and look out at those structures out in the ocean, out in the sea.
Oh, what, the Monsor Forts?
They look like walkers.
They're kind of cool. They're actually, they're kind of weird four-legged boxes that they were gunners' forts during the war.
Yeah,
there's
my grandfather
two or three sets.
was based on them.
Really?
Yeah. They're in a circle. There's about 8 or 9 of them in a circle, and they've got ramps in between. Somebody's actually bought one, and they're going to turn it into a resort, I understand.
Really?
Do you know what my grandfather did, Mark? He got all trained up, landed on a beach in Italy, and got caught.
POW, wasn't he?
Yeah, and then they smashed their guns against the rocks, so the Italians didn't get them. Prisoner of war in Italy 2 years, and Germany 3.
Goodness
Right.
me.
Yeah, that was his war. Sorry, Paul, interrupting you.
Well, that would be my choice, down near you, Paul. And at the right time of evening, that just looks magical as well down there.
That's a good idea. What about New Forest?
Oh,
An indoor type location.
yeah. Well, they just filmed in Puzzlewood, didn't they, a couple of years ago for The Force Awakens. That was in a UK wood, really creepy sort of Lewis Carroll like woodland.
They pieced that together really well there, didn't they?
Yeah.
In Puzzlewood.
Nice.
Oh, blimey. Where's Rob when I need him?
So yeah, like the New Forest. Okay, that's cool.
Go on, Paul.
Are we going to do another round?
The only one I can think of is probably the Dover Caves.
Ooh, what, the war caves?
Yeah.
I've been in there. That's awesome in there. Yeah, they've got the war room, haven't they, with all the little pushy things where you push the planes around.
Fort Amherst might be able to get away with it. If I recall, didn't they do a lot of the Saint in Fort Amherst? So I think it's been used. They did a lot of Hamlet there as well. It's been used for movies before, Fort Amherst.
No, but I tell you what you've got me thinking of. I know where in Tobacco Dock in East London, they filmed Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. And that's an amazing, they're all vaulted ceilings. That would be an amazing location.
There was a couple of years ago when they were scouting for locations for The Force Awakens, there was a report that they scouted a quarry near my work. It's like a huge.
I remember that.
I remember
that time. Yes, I do.
It does look quite incredible.
Because we were trying to convince you to get a tent and camp out on a regular basis.
I just waited there for months and no one turned up.
Yeah. You just stood outside.
That would be awesome. So right in the heart of Kent, you've got this little exotic looking location that's really unusual. So yeah, I'm going to keep it in the home counties, me.
Yeah, White Cliffs of Dover.
There you
How
go.
cool would that be?
Yeah, bang on.
I thought of that immediately, but I thought, well, isn't Act 2 already showing something similar to that vein?
Well,
I took our friend from America there, and cause for us, it's like, it's a big chalky cliff, whoopee-doo. But when you're there and you actually go there, and I took him there, he said it was the best place he went the whole time. He was here, in France, everywhere. He loved it. Because it's like, it's just so big when you can't even see people at the top.
And it's iconic as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget that. What's that? Give me a minute. I always get the name wrong, so I'm not going to say it out loud. No, it's gone. You know where all the hexagonal stones are on the edge of.
Oh yes, in
Causeway.
Ireland. Giant's Causeway.
Yeah, Giant's Causeway. That's weird.
Causeway, yeah. Yeah, that's a good place.
It's something to do with the way the minerals collapse, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
That's bizarre.
I reckon it's just a big giant with a big hexagonal potato cutter. Just went mad.
That's him, yeah. Oh, no, we had some. There are loads of beautiful locations in the UK that would be more than fitting, I think, for
Lake District.
yeah,
Croydon?
a juicy location. Probably not Croydon. I'm not sure Croydon qualifies so much, but
Slough.
plenty of stuff up. Yeah, Milton Keynes roundabouts. That's what Star Wars needs. More roundabouts.
Yes,
Perfect.
they
And
certainly do.
thank you for a great
I
question.
don't think you've ever seen a roundabout in Star Wars, mate.
Dartmoor was going to be a tough one to beat. No roundabouts in Star Wars. Every time they see something round, they blow it up. You can't, bloody rebels. Okay, let's move on. We got a tweet question from James at Tumbling Saber. Who would like to take this
You can
question?
read. was
James
into it.
O'Flaherty. Do you think Force users have to know each other, like a stroke, slash, not a stroke, don't have a stroke, slash have met before in order to sense each other? Vader senses Obi-Wan, but not his Force wield.
Yeah, and then it's continued on. Sorry, I just had a little fit and through
sorry.
everything. His force wielding children.
Move the screen over a bit, Mark. I'm sharing your screen.
Can you not see that?
No, it's cut off at the end.
Oh,
I can.
that's useless. So the second tweet is the end of
I
that
see
sentence.
it clearly, Mark. Steve's on
Yeah.
an iPad, aren't you?
iPad Pro.
Or an alternative kind of tablet. Anyway,
It just says he's force wielding children, Steve. Also,
hang on a minute.
TSW is
Vader
super rad.
senses Obi-Wan. Oh, okay, not Obi-Wan's force-wielding children. He senses his
own force-wielding children,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
It
It would have been better if he hadn't put a full stop at the end of wielding.
It might have. The 140 characters kind of crucified this
Yeah.
question here just a tad. So, yeah.
There's a lot of leet speak in there.
Do you think Force users have to
That's a good
know
question.
each other or have met each other before in order to sense each other? Vader senses Obi-Wan, but not his not his own force-wielding children. Also, TSW is super rad. Keep it up, boys. Indeed, couldn't agree more. So, do Force users have to know each other?
No,
Before they can sense each other in the Force.
not to a degree. I think once they've
But it-
met, the link is stronger. But they can sense something's up when they haven't met. Go on, Paul.
Yeah, I just wonder if they do meet someone and they sense their force, they remember that imprint possibly, so they can, even if they're not in the next room with them 2 weeks later, they know if they'll know if it's them in the next room because it's whatever imprint their force puts on it possibly. But until that point, they might feel, shall we say, a pull, Mark, but not entirely know where that is coming from.
Yeah, you're spot on, actually, Paul, because we even have reference for this, which is Vader saying he sensed Obi-Wan.
But that was a test.
When he first sensed it, he was, there's a presence I've not felt since. And then when he reports to Tarkin, it's like, it's Obi-Wan. So he knows, yeah. So they must have some sort of imprint on the Force that's recognisable to the Force user. But I believe that there's some expanded storytelling going on at the moment in some of the comic books that some of the Jedi are sensing Darth Maul when he's kind of stalking them around Coruscant in some of the early editions of the Darth Maul comic. So they wouldn't have met him, but they definitely sense his presence, even though I imagine he's trying to hide it, you know? So, yeah,
But the fact that if you have a situation, I've never met A, B, and C, but if somebody gives me information that they're there, if you then start to feel something, you could make that assumption anyway. You're just putting two and two together, right?
Yes, yeah. Yeah, and with the whole thing about Vader not being able to sense his own children, I don't think that they'd really, we've just learnt in The Force Awakens that the Force literally has to awaken within somebody.
With Luke, it was still dormant.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that I don't know if Leia ever really had much of a presence in the Force at that time. Luke probably more so, but still not enough for Vader to pick up on it. Because it wasn't until really Obi-Wan had died that Luke started to hear Obi-Wan's voice. He started to tap into the Force. And by that point, the next time we see an exchange is Vader in the TIE fighter chasing Luke down the trench, saying the Force is strong with this one. So clearly he's sensing
so he knows,
then.
he senses something there. Okay, so on the other side of this, if Darth Vader was in room A, if Maz was in room B, is she sensitive on a pickup only, or does she also radiate something too?
That's a good question. Yeah, we've sort of touched on this previously, haven't we? Is the ability to sense someone or to communicate somebody after death, is it contingent on your ability in the Force more than theirs? So Luke couldn't really see Obi-Wan until he'd gotten stronger in the Force. He could hear him, he couldn't see him. So is it necessary that the receiver, that both parties are both transmitter and receiver?
Okay.
So I'd be interested to know where Maz fits in that dynamic, because she's kind of Force sensitive, but maybe she's not. Maybe she's kind of like a squib in Harry Potter.
Yeah, you mentioned that before.
Yeah.
Who else in the entire saga, if you can pin it, the entire saga that we know of currently, is sensitive but not Jedi or Sith? Who else?
Well, I'd say Leia kind of qualifies.
Possibly.
Qualifies as that.
Her name popped in, but I didn't.
That big creature from not Fantastic Voyage, the one from 1969. And it looks like the one that hits the force field. He looks like that, Mark. You know what he means. He's from the other universe, Star Wars universes. And he's a grey. I can't remember his name now. What's his name?
What are you talking about, Steve?
You showed a picture of him last week.
Oh, the Bendu.
Big Bendu.
The Bendu, yeah.
He looks like the creature out of, what's that famous film? Really ahead of its time with Leslie Nielsen.
Oh,
Forbidden Planet.
Forbidden Planet,
Thank you, Paul. It looks like the thing that attacks the Force.
Yeah, a little bit, actually.
Yeah. So he is. I'm beginning to wonder whether or not the Bendu may have had history with either some sort of Force sect, so possibly the Jedi, probably the Jedi, I would think, and not just been someone that kind of exists within the Force. Maz, I think, is someone that kind of exists within the Force and never went either way with it, so never fell in with an organised sect, but. It's an interesting question, though, Paul. Would she pick up on it, or would Vader pick up on her? I don't know, because if she is just a receiver and she's not actually impacting on the Force herself,
I think she's transmitting.
She may not be seen. Interesting question, though. But there, James, I think, I don't think people. Where did we land on this? Really, I don't think that they need to. No. I don't think they need to meet. I think you can sense somebody within the Force. Definitely helps once he recognises Obi-Wan's presence in the Force. I think the reason Vader didn't sense the kids is because there's kind of two arguments, I guess. You could say that the Force hadn't awoken in them yet, so they were still kind of on mute, if you like. But also, I'd imagine probably they got lost in the noise around Obi-Wan. If Obi-Wan's such a significant presence in the Force, perhaps they're like white noise in the background kind of thing, you know? Maybe his presence was drowning them out. They were hidden in his shadow, but we won't know for a while, I'm sure. Okay, let's move on to Nathan 1 Kenobi. Paul?
Oh, I've just seen the first sentence. Okay. Well, Rob's not here, so it doesn't matter. All right, so here's the thing about midichlorians. Pardon? Sorry, Steve?
The M word, sorry.
Yeah, here's the thing about midichlorians. Oh, sorry, from Nathan. Sorry, Nathan. Shh. I know you're excited, but settle down. When you think about it, it doesn't make much sense for midichlorians to be passed from the father. Passed on from the father. I mean, there's only one transaction over which midichlorians could be passed on, just in terms of volume. That doesn't make sense. So if what determined your midichlorian count was purely biological, you think that the mother's count would have to be high for her children to have a high count. But we know this isn't the case for Padme and Shmi. And in fact, it wouldn't make much sense for the Jedi, or for any Jedi, being that Jedi don't have children. So it seems to me that what determines whether a person has a high count or not is the will of the Force, which would be perceived as a layman as random. So is it possible that Luke was so strong in the Force because he was chosen by the Force instead of just being because of family lineage? Well, go on, discuss. Nathan 1 Kenobi. That's a really good point.
That's a very good point.
I've actually thought about this before in relation to Annie, because Annie came from, this sort of, for want of a better word, spinster mother, if you see what I mean.
Yeah.
And so obviously there was a buffer stop ahead of him, but from that point on, obviously that line did keep on going. But that again comes down to possibility that Annie was prophecy. So he would have been chosen by the Force. So it's very, it's very, what's the word I'm looking for? What do they call it? That Christmas thing, the Virgin Mary and so on and so forth.
Yeah, virgin birth. It is
Immaculate
kind of
conception and that kind of thing.
Yeah, there's some of that. I think it's kind of it's implied in Revenge of the Sith that the Sith had something to do with the creation of Anakin. I think that's heavily implied that it was Plagueis that had discovered how to create life by manipulating the midichlorians.
Why wouldn't Leia have a bias? It just maybe there is an element of randomness to it as well.
Yeah, I mean, I put next to the breakdown in red text on the show notes, I've put the Force runs strong in my family. So I think the strongest indicator we have within the text of Star Wars itself, and treating the movies as primary canon, the strongest indicator we have that the Force transmitting from generation to generation, therefore being hereditary, is that one line: the Force runs strong in my family. So that's coming from Luke as well. So he clearly feels that he is
of a lineage.
It's exactly relating to the lineage, because his father is Anakin Skywalker. He is Force sensitive. Now, that could be isolated, because if Anakin's midichlorian count is so high because he's been created by the Sith, manipulating midichlorians and giving him this unnatural count, then perhaps that hereditary nature of that passing to Luke is an isolated instance. And the point that Nathan makes is very difficult to argue against, that because the Jedi don't have families, then there's not really a wide enough test.
We don't have a test bed.
No. I think it's a big mess up, personally.
Well,
I
don't know.
I think originally he probably thought when he was writing the original trilogies, he'll make it a hereditary thing, not necessarily something biological, but hereditary all the same. And then it kind of didn't make sense because Jedi don't have children. So then they've tried to address it in another way in the prequels and created midichlorians, which don't really work. They take the magical side of it away.
Yeah, you're exactly right.
Why does it?
It does in a way. I think that saying the midichlorians are a biological thing and that's how the Force works, it does take the mystical nature out of it. I would have, and we always did, didn't we, buy into the OT. Some people are just magical and they just have this ability to move things with their mind and influence people. I
think the Force chooses who it encompasses, because they know the Force knows what future is set if it does that.
Then why wouldn't it be a bit more fussy and not choose a dark side of its own nature?
That's not the Force, though, is it?
It's the dark side.
This is the thing I think we're getting into now. This is a really interesting topic, and this really starts to get my juices flowing. Right now, what we're looking at is a possibility that the story is going to evolve so that it says there is no light side of the Force, and there is no dark side of the Force. There is just the Force, and then the agenda that you bring to it.
How you use it. Okay.
And we've seen that with Yoda, right? When he says, if you're going in there, you're not going to need your weapons, but he goes in armed to the teeth, so he gets himself into all sorts of bother. If the Grey that we're hearing about now, the Bendu, possibly Ahsoka, maybe even Luke, are the few Force users who just say, I'm not going to do anything with it. I'm just going to be at one with the Force. Then you have a Force that exists, moves through and around everything with no agenda applied to it. The minute you say, I'm going to use it so I can attain power,
you weaponize it.
You weaponize it. And if you do it and you say, well, I'm just going to use it for knowledge, defense, then you've brought an agenda to it all the same. It might, in your mind, in your estimation, be a benign agenda, but it's still an agenda.
You weaken it, don't you?
Yeah.
You de-arm it.
So I do think and we know how many people get de-armed in Star Wars, right? And I do think there's plenty to what you're saying, plenty to what both of you are saying. But I agree with you, Steve, that I think that the introduction of midichlorians demystified it to a point where the story now leans on a biological explanation for this thing. And then the fact that the one sect we understand as being our heroes, the Jedi, don't have children, then they wouldn't be responsible for the next generation of Jedi. But I must point out that there was only ever 10,000 Jedi. Well, there was 14,000 in the history of the Order. I just read this in a comic book. In the entire history of the Order, there are 14,000 Jedi that took a vow called the Barish vow, which is a really small number.
About last week.
And how many Sith?
The Sith only exist in 2, and they have done for a millennia, but I don't know how far back their number goes. But the time
but is this because the Barish vow thing, is that because not everyone knows they're Force sensitive and they don't get found, or is it because
the Barish vow,
the Force is very selective?
The Barish vow is where the Jedi take that vow as a sort of penitence. So they're deliberately stopping themselves from using the Force and interacting in any way, shape or form. I think it's a way to retcon the choices made by Yoda and Obi-Wan. I think it's a way of saying they took the vow. That's why they didn't get involved in events. And the same with the two Jedi in Rebels. They took the Barish vow, so they didn't get involved in any events during the original trilogy. But at the time of the prequel trilogy, I think there were 10,000 Jedi in the galaxy, which is an absolute minuscule amount.
Yeah, but a lot of people might not know they have the Force.
Yeah, so I think that there are people out there like Maz Kanata. There are Force sensitive.
Oh, so are you including those, Mark? Are you including those in the 10,000? The people?
No.
Oh, okay.
No,
okay.
I'm saying it's just 10,000 Jedi. It's 10,000 people that have been discovered, and someone said, "Oh, you're Force sensitive. We're going to take you away from your parents. I'm going to give you this little pigtail thing that you wear behind your ear. You can wear these robes. Let's take you away from your parents." So it's like they've been discovered by a cult. So it could be.
So would Maz have a midichlorian count?
Yes. She'll have a midichlorian count, and I'm assuming that a kyber crystal will have a midichlorian count, because it seems to me
it was the worst thing they ever did, isn't it? Was to try and explain something that was the reason it was brilliant was because it's something mystical, and they tried to explain it.
We have an opportunity now with the storytelling to sort of change that a little bit and say, well, the midichlorians, it's a term like milliliters or pints. It's a way that we measure. It's a way that we quantify how present you are within the Force. Yeah, it's how you measure forceness.
I think basically at the end of the day, it's your magnet. It's whether you attract the ability to use this, this what's the word I'm looking for? This mystical entity or not.
If Obi-Wan had been eaten by a crate dragon in the wilderness on Tatooine and Luke had never found out about anything, he might have lived to a ripe old age and never even known that he was Force sensitive. He would have probably been using the Force to fly Skyhopper through Beggar's Canyon and Bullseye Womp Rats and all that stuff. He might have been using the Force to do those things and never realised it, and never really made a ping on the radar, never really stood out to anybody and lived an unremarkable life, but still have been one of the most powerful potential Force users in the galaxy. But we would never know, because there wasn't somebody there to say, you're the one, come with me, let's train you. Because not until it starts, exactly, that's the hero's journey, exactly. So you've got a really small sample of the population of the galaxy, 10,000 people that are indoctrinated into the Jedi and train to develop their skills to a point where they're like black belts of Forceness. And out there in the wilds,
like Shaolin,
you can have billions of individuals out there with varying degrees of Force ability that could train up to be the next Jedi Master or the next Sith Lord, but they live unremarkable lives and they never get discovered because it's not brought out of them. So it could very well be hereditary. We just don't have enough data to really base any assumption on. I say the best thing we've got to work on now is Luke's line, which is the Force runs strong in my family, which shows it's hereditary. But you have to factor in that Plagueis might have had a part in starting that stuff off. Anakin's extraordinarily high midichlorian count may have influenced Luke, so you've not got a clear test subject there to work with. But my feeling is that
I don't mind the hereditary thing. I don't mind the hereditary thing. I just wish they hadn't tried to explain it.
Yeah, in the early drafts of Star Wars, when it was the Star Wars, then there was a lot of hereditary talk. Anakin was present as a Jedi Knight. Darth Vader was somebody different, and his kids were Jedis, so it was so that was the thing. But then changing, we didn't know until the prequels that Jedi lived this monastic lifestyle, did we? Until then, they were warriors. They fought in the Clone Wars, We didn't really understand them in the way we do now until the prequels at the end of the 90s. So retconning that slightly messed with our understanding, much like making them all wear those brown robes that Uncle Owen wore. Why was that suddenly a thing? Just because Obi-Wan wore them in A New Hope, why would that be the way all the Jedi in the temple?
I mean, he was just an old hermit at that point anyway. He wasn't actually symbolising his order, I don't think.
And if you look around, Owen wore similar clothing. There was an alien in Jabba's palace that was wearing Jedi robes. A standard desert fatigue almost. Yeah, that's exactly it. It just looked like a caftan that people in the desert would wear to stay cool.
Cool.
Yeah, my money's going to be on Hereditary just simply because of that line from Luke about the Force running strong in his family. I think that's the best indicator we got to suggest that it is, in fact, lineage, and there would be a whole family out there, and the much like Luke and Leia, the father may be really Force sensitive but never even noticed it. Then the kid's born and he's like, oh, this Jedi prodigy, and then he might have children and they might have the ability and never discover it, because sometimes you need to train at these things before they become anything, right?
It'd be a nightmare if your baby was Force sensitive.
Yeah.
Be like, you will give me another Farley's Rusk.
Yeah, wave the hand. Yeah.
Presumably, other brands of Rusk are available. Farley's
it'd be mostly
throwing poop out of their nappies. The next question. Thank you, Nathan. By the way,
Thank you, Nathan.
Next question. Both. We've got a double dip here from Dave Donovan this week. So, who would like to take Dave's?
I'll take Dave.
Do it.
Double dipping and asking the great minds at Talk Star Wars and Tumbling Saber this one. Daisy's comments in the BTS reel saying we're all going to be shocked, and her earlier comments that she had to talk to Ryan about where Rey is going in the script. What if it's an inverse of Empire and Rey actually goes to the dark side and ultimately kills Luke at the end? Is that the big shock? We'll never forgive Kylo for killing Han, but can Rey come back from killing Luke? Is this the big cliffhanger ending? Excited to hear your thoughts, Dave. So that is really interesting. Could Rey go dark and kill Luke in Last Jedi? Will we ever be able to forgive that? Paul.
Excuse my naivety, isn't Mark Hamill in episode 9?
Yes. But he was also in episode 7.
But he could be in episode 9 as a Force Ghost.
He could be in episode 9 as a Force Ghost. If he is, he's going to torment the hell out of her if she does that.
With constant boo.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I almost get the feeling that, now please excuse me for cross-referencing across a couple of other movies, but I almost look at Luke as if he's the epitome of like Gandalf and Dumbledore, almost immortal in their ways. So I don't think she's got anywhere near the power to take him on and the power to do it. I mean, Luke's death would be, I think, some kind of, it'd have to be fighting his equal and then some. So if it's going to come from anybody, I think it will be a Snoke situation, but I don't even know if that's going to happen either. So you might find that she tries to, but I don't think she would be successful in said endeavour, if that makes sense. And I don't think it would come from Kylo either.
Oh, Paul,
he might try to feed his little birds and fall off a cliff or something. I don't know, but I don't think that's going to happen.
That is he's in the first 5 minutes of the Last Jedi.
Yeah.
That's why he's the Last Jedi. I think it's time for the Jedi to, oh my God. Paul, you made it.
I think,
sorry, Steve.
I honestly think that with Han dying in episode 7 and Carrie Fisher sadly dying in real life, that I don't think there's much of an appetite for losing Luke in episode 8.
Couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
So I am slightly worried about what the big shocks are, as particularly what I'm sure we'll get to it later, but what Mark Hamill said about, because I listened to that about 4 times today, and I thought he doesn't sound happy still, but we'll talk about that later.
Is this on the behind the scenes reel, Steve?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I thought he really isn't happy still. And he said, that was the director's choice kind of thing. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting way to put it.
We can touch on that briefly now, but I just need to shout out, Paul, your comments about what the role Luke plays in this story now, you couldn't be more right. He's transitioned from, because that role traditionally, what you said, it's Gandalf and it's Dumbledore. That role in Star Wars was traditionally Obi-Wan. He was the elderly wizard, right? He was always designed to be that. Yeah. He's the one that gives the hero the knowledge, like Gandalf with Frodo and Dumbledore with Harry. And then they commit self-sacrifice in order to save and narratively to motivate. They martyr themselves. They all do it, right? Each of
Yoda
those
didn't.
No, Gandalf, Dumbledore, Obi-Wan.
Oh,
that was their that was their service to the story. Now Luke's gone from hero to wizard. So, or as Rob would say, if he was a wizard, that's his story responsibility, isn't it? So if we are going to lose Luke, I don't think we'll lose him at the hands of Rey or Kylo Ren. I think we'll lose him because he sacrifices himself in order to save somebody, whether that's Rey, Leia, Kylo, whoever. That is now Luke's responsibility to the story, because that's the archetype and that's the role that they fulfill. So when Luke goes, it will be an act of self-sacrifice in order to save the others. Fly you
when
forth.
Or if?
I think when.
Yeah,
I don't think it'll be this movie, but I think it is a case of when, because that's the only service that character has now, right?
I think it's an inevitability that we're going to lose Luke at some point. I don't want to. Why do they always have to do this? But I don't think it needs to lose Luke.
It's drama, though, Steve.
It's drama, and that's exactly my next word.
Okay, rewind. In your first comment, on your first comments, you actually mentioned in light of Han and in light of Carrie, the last thing they're going to do is going to lose Luke. But both of you have now done a U-turn on that.
No, not at all. Episode 8.
Yeah,
no, I don't think Luke. I think Luke is going to outlive the entire story.
Well, I hope so.
Steve's exact words were, in the light of them killing Han and us losing Carrie, there is no appetite there to lose Luke, and I absolutely agree. There's no appetite there. All? I don't think so. I think it will be testing us too far. But this might have already been.
When?
Yeah,
that's my point.
Yeah.
Well, you then got Star Wars without any of the people that people equate Star Wars with.
No,
and you've got a very dangerous situation then.
You have, unless they do. And to me, I think, but I'm a Star Wars zombie, so take this with a pinch of salt. I think they've already done it. I think the transfer of emotional investment has already happened for me. To Rey, she's now my Luke, and Kylo is now my Vader. And so I'm replacing these characters already. They're taking the place in my heart as a fan. They're taking the place of my original heroes. I just want to be absolutely clear, though, so that there's no misunderstanding about what I mean, Paul. I agree with Steve 100%. There is no appetite to lose Luke. I don't want to lose Luke. I didn't get enough Mark Hamill in The Force Awakens. If I lose him in The Last Jedi, I will not be happy. But I do think we have to lose. I do think Luke has to die. It's not that I want it. I think that it has to happen, because that's
some point.
That's the story responsibility that character archetype has at this point.
So let's go against archetype, eh?
Mm-hmm. Do you think they can?
I agree with you. It'd be lovely if they did, carry his legacy on forever. Maybe he's going to be a Yoda type character.
But this is the thing.
600 years.
When we're talking about Star Wars, we're talking about a franchise that can have its cake and eat it. Because you have the characters, you have Obi-Wan that dies, but then he rocks up 5 seconds later, run, Luke, run. And then he's on the log on Dagobah talking and imparting knowledge and wisdom. So you have your cake and eat it with these characters in Star Wars. So we could lose Luke in Act 2, in the actual Act 2 of the film, The Last Jedi, and still have him in Act 3 and the whole of the film afterwards as a Force ghost.
Okay, so rewind to the question. Mm-hmm. Would you be able to forgive that?
If Rey killed him?
Did it? That's the problem, though. Even though we're going down the path that, okay, we may well be losing Luke, but keeping him as a Force ghost or some kind of entity, blah, blah, blah. The reason of his passing is a forgivable situation.
I would worry that they're doing stuff just to make the film stand out and not necessarily because of what people want.
But that's not necessarily a problem.
No.
Well, but then we're back to what Mark Hamill has said on several occasions now, and even now after the film's wrapped, in the main side of things, he's still giving strange comments about the way the story has evolved and the character arcs.
They're not so much strange as they are out of context, though, Steve. You have to remember he's under an NDA, so he has to walk a fine line.
He's also a playful soul.
He is, yeah. I think he is. He is a bit of a troll, but I think that, I know that you're concerned, and I hope that this film wins back your confidence, Steve, because I hear it when you talk about these films now. I hear how challenged you are by them, because you do feel, I think, somewhat betrayed. And the answer to this question is absolutely. Could you forgive Rey if she killed Luke? For you, absolutely not.
No, and I don't think I bother anymore.
And I think that is a very real problem. But if Luke dies in defense of Rey, or in order to facilitate Rey's escape, or to strengthen Rey as a character in the way Obi-Wan did for Luke, that's probably the only way they can play that exchange out now. I think
I think it's too much.
I think it's too soon.
Let's have a film without someone that we love dying.
Yeah, yeah.
They're going to have to, they're going to have to kill off, Leia, aren't they? So that's another one. You can't have two for two.
That might actually be on the show notes later on. Actually, that topic of.
Okay, again, a small, but taking one pace back, you say we can't have two for two, but they are creating a new realm of characters now.
Yeah.
So anything could happen. I mean, everybody's saying you're not going to know what's hit you. It's just so different. This is so not left field, but I always use that word.
Yeah.
We have no idea what's up their sleeves, and we might. I don't know. I mean, Mark might know otherwise, but is Finn signed up for Part 9? Is XYZ signed up for Part 9?
I think they're all signed, but that doesn't mean they're going to be used.
Parts.
Doesn't know what context.
They don't even have to be used. I mean, who's the chap? He played the Red Skull in Captain America, and he was Hugo Weaving. He'd signed on to play Red Skull in like multiple Marvel movies. I think Hugo Weaving played the Red Skull in Captain America, and he signed on to play that character in multiple movies, but he never did it. He made one and said, "That's it, I'm done. I don't want to do it." So the idea of signing somebody to a contract isn't to obligate them to do it. It's to option them into doing it. And if an actor says, "No, I'm not going to do it," then you go another way. And equally, just because you sign a 6-film deal, if Marvel or Lucasfilm say, "No, we're done with you after one," that's it. You're only signing that person to an option. You're not guaranteeing them.
I know it's a contentious subject, but I bet you they're kicking themselves that they killed Han in the first movie now, what with the unfortunate death of Carrie Fisher. Because if they knew, obviously it's a ridiculous comment, if they knew what they know now, they would have kept Han on.
Yeah, I think there's some truth in there, Steve, but that depends on whether or not it was their idea 100%. That Harrison might have said, my appearance is contingent on this character dying. Let's do what we should have done in Jedi.
I can almost guarantee that.
Yeah, I think that's more than likely. But, also, you do have to leave hats on the ground sometimes. If you go back to the 70s and you were our age in the 70s going to see these films with your children, you'd have said, I can't believe that Sir Alec Guinness and Peter Cushing are in this film. And then you'd come out going, why'd you kill both those legendary actors? Sometimes you have to leave hats on the ground. It's drama. It's exciting. In this case, I think, Steve, I see your point. Losing the character of Han Solo and then losing Carrie in real life, and the prospect of losing Luke losing Luke
film.
And Leia.
Well, yeah, too. That's the thing. It's both, isn't it?
You lose two there, don't you? Because you haven't simply written a character out. Your hand was forced there by losing Carrie. You don't have a lot of choice.
I honestly don't think they're that silly to lose Luke in the next film. It would be suicide, as far as
it might be suicide.
Yeah,
we do. Be. We are hearing there is a lot of talk that Luke goes off in pursuit of Snoke at the end of this movie. So think of the way Lando goes off looking for Han, it might be one of those things where at the end of this movie, Luke says, well, look, in for a penny, in for a pound. I'm going to go and find this dude now and put this thing to bed. Because, you know, you can all stay here with your little resistance base and Rey, good luck training with that lightsaber, but I'll be back when this is done. That might set up a whole part for episode 9 that will focus solely on Luke doing his thing and going out for Snoke. Who knows which way it's going to go? But I do strongly feel that he is now, that character is cast in that role of mentor that will ultimately sacrifice themselves for the student. It does worry me practically, you know, real world. We're crossing streams here because we're talking about what we want to see from the production and how we want to keep these actors around. But inside the narrative, we got to be true and we've got to abide by the rules that we've set for ourselves. You know, the rhyming stanza. You know, we lost Qui-Gon in the prequel trilogy, Obi-Wan in the original trilogy. Luke will have to go in this one.
Yoda.
We lost
Yoda.
Yoda,
Didn't die for
but he wasn't connected to the characters the way Obi-Wan was to Luke, and now Luke will be to Rey. But having said that, and I'm sure that there's people that have just gone to their keyboards, Rey had that connection to Han in The Force Awakens, so we've already put that character down. So, you know, all bets are off at this stage. I do feel that he is the aged wizard that needs to perish. But at this stage, I think
we haven't even seen him yet.
No, I think doing it in the next film might not be a great thing. It depends if they plan to. I mean, we're burning a lot of time in this question, but it depends whether they plan to make movies after this. If they plan on doing the 10, 11, 12, then you might keep Luke around to the end, flip Rey to the dark side so that she's your villain in your final trilogy, and have her kill Luke. And then, so in that case, no, it's not forgivable. Which is a really long 20-minute way of saying, no, you can't forgive Rey for killing Luke. Luke has to sacrifice himself for that character.
Good question, though.
Great question. Dave's always good at pulling these premium questions out and make you think. All right,
we'll try and speed the next one up a bit.
Yeah, let's do the next one. We'll speed up. So this is from Dave Donovan as well. So they'll still be making Star Wars when we're in our 80s. What do you think what age do you think you'll be when the inevitable, parenthetical inevitable, reboot happens? I'm 41. I'm going to say I'll be 60, maybe 65. It will be after a long break. So, Steve?
I reckon I'll be 66, 71.
Okay.
Exactly the same year as Dave Donovan said.
Okay. Nice. I don't think that they'll reboot. I don't see it as inevitable. I know you do, Steve, and you've bet us.
Oh yeah, it is. No, if not the OT, the prequels.
Paul, can you speak about the prequels without spitting?
Would never happen.
I don't think they'll reboot. No. I think it's too rich a universe, and there's too, you know, they could essentially, I did a soft reboot making The Force Awakens. You can remake the hero's journey over and over and over again with new characters, new situations. It doesn't necessarily mean a hard reboot where you just say, look, this is Luke and this is Obi-Wan again. I don't see it ever happening. So I won't be an age, Dave, because it ain't going to happen. 2 out of 3.
I'll be dead.
2 against 1, Steve. If Rob was here, it would be a tiebreaker, but I'm afraid you lose, sir.
Would Rob agree?
I don't think Rob would. I'm going to speak for Rob.
He doesn't agree with you often.
He doesn't agree with you on principle. He doesn't agree with your nakedness. For a
He's
start.
only 12.
He likes clothing.
So he'd be 30 and 36.
He would be 18 when they reboot it. No, I don't think Rob believes that they'll reboot this series of films. Not for a second. But we'll ask him next week. Okay. Dave, thank you for both your questions this week. We are going to have our quick break
cheeky
now.
Monkey taking 2.
You cheeky little monkey. Oh, my. We're going to run off to a quick break now. And then when we come back, we will slip into... I can see what's coming here. We'll slip into Connor's Corner. Oh,
my. Lovely.
We'll be right back. If you'd like to support what we do here at Talk Star Wars, you can do so by becoming a TSW sponsor. For as little as £1 per month given securely via PayPal, you'll help us keep the lights on here at Talk Star Wars. When you become a TSW sponsor, we will automatically make you a TSW VIP. As a VIP, you'll get access to an exclusive stream of content that provides you with a daily podcast called the TSW Kessel Run, membership to the TSW VIP Facebook group, priority releases of shows such as the TSW Toy Box and TSW Comics. You'll also get priority access to the TSW Feature Com series and weekly Facebook Live and AMA sessions. There are also newsletters and a monthly prize draw. Head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and become a TSW sponsor today, and the Force will be with you always. And we're back. You'd have just heard our VIP sponsorship spot. There's another way for you to support us now as well. We just launched a tip jar on the site this week, so if you're not interested in the VIP program or subscribing every week, you want to make a one-off donation to help us support what we do, head to talkstarwars.co.uk/support and deposit a couple of quid in the tip jar. All right, as is traditional.
Keeps you in baked beans, doesn't it, Mark?
It does keep me in baked beans, yeah. I'm stocking up. I'm a prepper for the end of days. Which Paul has just been telling us all about in the break. As is tradition now, after our break, we are going to go straight into Connor's Corner with our weekly question from Connor and Leo. And Connor writes thusly. Everybody drink. Rob likes that. Well, my friends, what a week for us Star Wars fans with D23 and all its juicy Jedi goodness, with that beautiful, it's all about family sentiment at the end of the behind-the-scenes video. Yeah, that was quite touching, that moment. I myself got a bit choked up, had a lump in my throat. Very touching stuff indeed. I'm sure you fine gentlemen will have talked about this or are about to talk about this on this week's show. We can't wait to hear your opinion on this. So this family line got me thinking about the family name of our main characters, namely Skywalker and Solo. You guys talking about the Sith and the way they named the Darth as kinship to their character. Rob's Darth Rageous, which is what we named Luke. Do you remember our hypothetical name for Luke if he'd gone to the dark side? Was on the money, and it's got my vote if and when Luke goes to the dark side. Anyway, with the advent of the new breed of Force users, the Knights of Ren, the title being the latter part of the name and the first part, i.e. Kylo, is a moniker that seems to be taken from the accent part of the mother and father surname. So S. Kai and the Lo from Solo, or the Kai from Skywalker and the Lo from Solo. That's quite an interesting sort of look at that, I think. I know Marc, because he's a genius, I added that piece myself, sorry, called it when he first saw Kylo in the first teaser for The Force Awakens. Then we got the character names and there was a clue in the name that about Kylo and his lineage. Is this a stupid train of thought on my part, or do you think there's something in it? Presumably the Knights had different names when they were given their Ren name, something maybe that will be elaborated on in a book or graphic novel. I know I'm jumping the gun here, but we could get something about these guys and girls in The Last Jedi. But let's face it, it's the Kylo, Rey, Snoke and Luke arc that we want to see here. Well, I do anyway. Thanks, guys. Hope you can get something from this, and as always, we look forward to hearing what you have to say on the subject. Connor and Leo, may the Force be with you always. This email was brought to you by the Witty Sign-Off Company. Each week it's harder. Oh my. Yeah, I bet it does. All right, so is there a pattern to the way the Knights of Ren are named? Is there a naming convention at play, or is that Kylo thing a misnomer?
I never saw the Kylo thing before, and it's brilliant.
Can you scroll up
I really like
Mark,
it.
so I can review?
How many other Rens do we know, Mark?
Well, there are, I think, 6 Knights of Ren. So Kylo being the master, I think, is the seventh, almost like the 7th samurai. But we don't know any of them yet.
That's what I'm saying. So it's hard to comment on the naming convention when we don't know the other names.
Yeah, absolutely is. It makes me wonder whether or not there's room in the story for that sort of expansion on their names.
I have no problem with however far they want to investigate and offer as Knights of Ren. I think they make a very, very interesting set of characters. And in relation to, the sentence there, it was like, okay, it's the Kylo, Rey, Snoke and Luke arc we want to see here. I really don't mind if we delve into these guys because I think they could be really interesting.
Yeah,
because
I'm totally with you.
You can't go too far because there's too many of them. You can't chew up too many hours of time, obviously, but where are they? Where are they from? What they're doing? What's their hang up? Why have they gone that direction? And so on. So it could be very, very cool.
I think it would be very, very cool, but I would start preparing yourself.
And there's also a solo movie in the making there.
There could be. But remember that lineup of bounty hunters in Empire and how cool they looked, and we never really saw much of any of them again, did we? It's that sort of thing with Star Wars.
Yeah, but the more you looked at those guys, you wondered when you got the figure as well. You were like, how do these get right? How do these guys move around? How do they run? How do they? So there was no reality to them. I mean, IG-88 in a major battle scene. Oh, come on!
Isn't it? It's also really funny. This ability Star Wars has to sort of shellac these characters with a coating of cool, even though they don't do anything. Like the Knights of Ren. What did we really see? We saw them standing behind Kylo in the rain in a vision. It wasn't even them. It was a vision of them, and then one offhanded reference from Snoke, you, the master of the Knights of Ren. And suddenly there are this mega thing that we all want to see more of. I wonder if...
that's the job. That just shows what a good job they did of Kylo.
Yeah, because it did. There's also, I wonder, and I've been sort of ruminating on this for a while, whether or not, we've heard about these Praetorian guards, these red armoured guards that seem to be around Snoke. I wonder if they might have been what the Knights of Ren became. If the Knights of Ren are like...
That's their promotion.
Yeah, like Kylo as their leader, as like the leader of the regulators out there in the wild, sort of doing this mission. And then when Snoke calls them all back in, he says, right, Kylo, you're now the governor. You go off on your Star Destroyer and do your stuff over there. And you dudes, here's some new suits. And you can just hang out here and keep me safe. So whether the Knights of Ren and the Praetorian Guard might become one at some point.
One is a lead off from the other.
Might be a shame because the Knights of Ren are so core. I'd love to see them explored a little bit. Steve, do you think there's anything to this naming convention?
No, I mean perhaps Snoke's Luke's grandfather, because you've got K-E in Snoke for Luke, S for Shmi. Not sure about the no.
You really are
N for Reach. Sorry, that made about as much sense as where you were going.
Yeah.
With
this. But
K for tenuous.
That would be cool, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
if Snoke was Luke's grandfather, and he was the one who inseminated Shmi.
Whose grandfather?
Luke's.
I think
that means it'd be Annie. That means he's Annie's daddy.
Yeah, I think you're almost there, Steve. I'm seriously.
Snoke already said, Annie, I'm not your daddy.
You're thinking of that thing, are you?
That's Kid Creole and the Coconuts you're thinking of, Paul. I'm thinking that exact thing, actually, Steve. That Snoke is Luke's grandfather, yeah.
Blimey.
Because I think that...
Did I say something right?
You did, but most of the world disagrees with me. But I do think that there's room for Snoke to just be the body that is currently playing host to the Force essence of the Force entity of Plagueis, and Plagueis created Anakin. So not a lot of people are a fan of that theory at the moment, but that's the way my mind's working. It doesn't have to be Plagueis inside of Snoke, but I do think that that's a thing that we're going to have to deal with. I'm calling it Force possession. Like it's the dark side version of blue being a bluey ghost. So I do think you're quite close there with what you said. I think that Snoke could well be Luke's grandfather.
Okay, cool. Awesome.
But name-wise, I think the Kylo thing might be an isolated incident, and that might be a tease to us as the fans. Like, did you notice what we were telling you all along, that this kid is part Skywalker and part Solo? Did you pick up? I think that might be what that is. I don't think that it's indicative of the Knight of Ren naming process.
No.
Like the way the Sith, their names seem to betray their primary objectives, don't they? Which we spoke about before when we came up with Darth Rages. So I don't think the Knights of Ren are necessarily going to follow that. I'm really not sure we're going to see them much beyond the opening of Last Jedi anyway. So, but what a cool question, and what a cool piece of trivia that Kai and Lo. It's awesome.
It's good.
By Lo.
Very good. Right. Thank you, Connor. Thank you, Leo.
Oh, going up and down so
We
fast.
do need...
That's what she said.
Oh, my. Connor, we are going to need an update on what happened with the pencil drawing of the DL44. I need to know who has taken possession of that wonderful piece of art. Okay, in the meantime, gents, are we ready to move into some Star Wars news?
Spoiler,
Yes.
Steve. Good night.
Yeah, this is it. Yeah.
Now, we're going to go... The first thing we're going to do tonight, and then because we're already an hour in, we're going to break down the behind-the-scenes reel, and then we'll see how much time we've got left for these news stories. But there's definitely some stuff in Han Solo that I think we need to talk about this week. But with that said, what we're going to do now is we're going to take a look at the behind-the-scenes reel for Star Wars The Last Jedi.
Everybody set. 3, 2, 1.
Action. Episode 8. Gosh. The first film didn't even have a number.
Ryan has written a story that's unexpected but right. Some of the stuff that happens, people are going to be like, oh my God.
Even though I think I know it all, they throw things at me story-wise I never could have imagined.
And even though everybody knows that it's the second in a trilogy, it feels like its own thing.
Go.
Star Wars is so cool because there's all these creatures and all these amazing visual effects. But all the characters are also so complex.
Ryan needs to work on his Wookiee sounds. It's ridiculous. New director can't even just learn a Wookiee sound.
Okay, so D23 at the weekend gave us a behind-the-scenes reel. No trailer. I think we all kind of knew that wasn't going to be a thing anyway. But, well, there was a lot of speculation.
Don't want
online
any more
that it was
trailers
gonna-
anyway.
There will be more, but maybe not just yet. So we're going to look at the behind-the-scenes reel now. We're doing a new technique of doing this week. So we're all sharing the screen, so you can all see this video now, right?
Mm-hmm.
I certainly can.
So we kick off with a couple of sort of literally behind the scenes bits, some construction and what have you going on there, some welding. And then we get this gorgeous set of what looks like a cave. There's a couple of other bits later on in this video.
I think it's the cave.
The cave?
With a skylight.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the cave with the books in it that we saw in the
I think
trailer?
it is, because you see that rock in the middle. It's got like this pointed thing, almost as if it's becoming some kind of altar.
That's a
Where are
good
you
point.
looking?
Well, remember
rock in
that
the
because
middle.
I think we see a wider angle of this in a minute. I
and I'm-
think he's looking around
Pinky
about
roll.
here, Steve. Can you see that?
Oh, okay. Yeah. So, I
That's
see what
right,
you
Paul.
mean.
That's what
Yes,
you're
Paul.
referring to.
Yeah, excuse me.
Yeah, so I think we're going to see a wider angle of this cave later, and it's vast. So,
Taking it, that's an opening in the ceiling because they've got blue filters, possibly for the sky to give that kind of light. I
that
don't
is
know.
also a good point, yeah. So it will certainly be lit. And I think there's also room for there being water in this as well. But we'll move on. I think we'll come back to that in just a moment. So then we get the construction of a set that's definitely
Star Destroyer.
a Star
Looks like
Destroyer.
Star Destroyer windows to me.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a very interesting sort of circular rig in the background as well. Can you see that?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Like a ring of some kind.
Very large hamster.
Not sure if maybe that's going to form a door or a docking ring or something.
Or
what I mean.
no, I think that's a platform that goes on a pedestal for, where they all stand around and look at the whole holographic galaxies and
Oh,
stuff.
yeah.
It
Oh,
could
no,
be
it could
something
be.
like that.
A very big one, yeah.
Is this all pine wood, by the way?
I believe so, yes. Yeah.
I thought I recognised the walls. I'm not kidding.
Yeah? From
Yeah.
from previous stuff.
Yeah, it looks like Bond Studio.
Right, moving on to some of these little
The beehives?
stone huts, little beehive
Sorry.
huts. This looks like it might actually be on Skellig. Because they did reconstruct these on location.
They wouldn't have all been there because they said production was tricky, flights and boats and crikey.
I wonder if they'll leave these here because they're beautiful, aren't they? Will they leave them?
They're actually original.
No, they're already there, Steve.
Yeah, these were already...
That is actually what they look like?
Monastic stone huts, yeah.
They look untouched, though.
Yeah.
That's because
how old are they in real life?
I don't know.
22 years.
Are we talking ancient?
I think if you use that Google machine, Steve, it answers just about anything you ask it. You might want
I have to say, though, Mark.
I
have to say, you can see the person standing in the back one where the opening is, can't you?
Yeah.
But if you look at the nearest one, it does have shades of Macquarie on it. The longer you look at it, it does start to come out like this beautiful Macquarie-type painting situation. Yeah, so I wonder if there might be some touch-ups on that original picture.
He used a lot of these...
They look very good condition, don't they?
He used a lot of these forms in his illustration, didn't he? Like these geodesic shapes and domes and compound shapes and stuff. So, yeah...
But you can see someone standing in the last one. So.
Yeah, in a nice high-vis jacket. So then we move on to... We're on the stage again and we're getting the construction of the Millennium Falcon. So bearing in mind they've already got one on location outside, haven't they? Somewhere.
That's just a cockpit rig. Oh no, they probably are building it.
Yeah, they are. This whole structure here is part of the front
nose
fork. Yeah, the front nose. So they're building this inside. So this is possibly when it's someone's flown it back to a hangar.
Jobs.
Don't they? Yeah, it's really awesome, isn't it?
I'd like to sweep the floor in there. I swear to God.
I'd make tea. And I would make the best tea on a Star Wars set ever. So we're getting more and more detailed looks at the Falcon's cockpit these days, aren't we?
2 steering wheels.
It's amazing, isn't it? Pilot and co-pilot.
I never noticed those.
No,
they're almost like they've
always been
almost
there.
like motorbike.
Now, if you imagine I nearly said it. If you imagine in Star Wars, if I recall, Han or Chewie either left or right always used to sort of twist something, and I don't think any of those look like it.
No, there's these things here that they used to grab and pull them down in sort of clusters.
But they used to be almost like a left-right motion as well. It was very strange.
Yeah, we'll have to look back and see if it all...
I do like the fact it does look very archaic still. It looks very 70s. Because don't forget, the craft could be... It is a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away and so on, so who knows. But it looks beautifully basic, actually.
And remember, we saw one of these ships in, was it Attack of the Clones or
I've got a theory on that.
Revenge of the Sith? But one of these YT 1300 freighters was in a prequel movie and it looked old then. So these things have probably been around the block a few times. What was you going to say, Steve?
Well, I would say the reason why they're not archaic to them, they're archaic to us because we're one species where everything could be tailored, but our size hands, our size fingers, our eyes, our ears, everything.
Yeah.
So we end up getting brilliant technology that's all touchable, whereas this ship has to cater for 100,000 different species, all which have different flappy great fingers.
Yeah,
so
that's
buttons have got to be big.
And we've seen 3 species pilot this thing, haven't we, so far? Yeah. Human, Wookiee, and whatever.
So everything's got to be grabbable and pushable, isn't it?
Yeah. What is 9-9?
It's a Sullustan from Sullust.
You know what to get now.
Exactly. Right.
What's the green thing sitting on the... Oh, okay.
No, sorry, I'll go back.
It's all right. It's just a
piece of tape.
It is a piece of tape.
Yeah, that's all that is, just a piece of tape. So there's R2 being carried.
Oh, cut off his head.
Yeah.
Oh, and there's
probably
C-3PO's boobs.
And then there's C-3PO looking way more metallic than he looked in...
very chrome, actually.
The Force Awakens, he looked kind of luster, didn't he? But he'd lost his sheen.
Well, that looks like it's being sprayed, though.
This looks more like a highly finished... and almost like fiberglass as well. Whereas I think the costume in The Force Awakens was completely 3D printed. This looks like it may have been formed.
Hold it.
Which is much better. Then we've got Chewbacca getting his curls in.
For his missus.
There's plenty of this behind the scenes stuff like BB-8 being painted, a couple of BB-8s
being cloned.
And now we get some really cool stuff. These speeders. How awesome are these little things?
That's a beautiful shot too.
It's a great shot on it with that light.
Yeah,
it's
really, really nice.
Probably I would think these are something to do with Canto Bight. So the gambling, sort of the well-moneyed, well-heeled corner of the galaxy. I
do not want to see racing again.
Anthony Daniels. I don't think it'll be racing. I think it'll be people rocking up at casinos. Then there's this shot.
This is a terrific shot.
Yeah, so these are the minerals that we're seeing on Crate in the trailer. So as the surface of the planet breaks open, the minerals get thrown out, and you can see this rock all red in here, and there's some sort of structure in the foreground with the blue screen behind it. Some sort of base, maybe the Rebel base or something. We're definitely in for a Crate-based battle here, aren't we? It'll be superb. So there's that. Moving on to a shot of Rey just looking beautiful. Just stunning. And this,
Close your mouth, Mark.
I absolutely love this shot of Chewbacca underneath the Falcon by the campfire, looking ever so lonely since the loss of his friend.
Too big for the cockpit there.
No, he doesn't. No, he
doesn't he?
No,
put him in paint. Put him in paint. Do a select grab. Put him in there. He's fine.
This, if you look over here to the left-hand side, this is going to be shot in IMAX.
Oh, is that what that is?
That's your camera angle there. That's an IMAX camera, and that's the camera angle here.
Wait a minute. Move the screen over. Oh, yes.
Yeah. So this is part of an IMAX sequence. I'd like to know where this is because it doesn't look like Arc 2. There's far too much treeage.
Trees, yeah.
Did you say treeage?
Treeage. Far too much treeage.
Could it be Canto
Isn't
Bite?
Isn't that where a doctor works?
I don't think it's going to be Canto Bite because what we've seen so far is it looks very much like a salt flat. So this is another... unless they're going to replace all of this foliage in the background with an ocean.
If he's waiting for Rey, he's on Arc 2.
Oh, possibly. I think you're right. I think those trees are incidental. I don't think they're part of the... I think that's the bottom of Skellig.
You think this is the bottom of Skellig, and then that's going to be replaced with ocean, which will match the scene at the end of...
Yeah,
okay.
I certainly do.
Then we move on, and we've got a shot of Ryan Johnson looking at the BB-8.
Yeah,
now,
they blurred the background out.
They blurred these background images.
Of course they did.
But look over here.
It blurred very well.
K2SO.
Yeah.
Can you see my mouse? We're on the far right of the screen.
It is K2SO. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
What's that other machine?
Probably just a holdover from...
that Yoda underneath on the picture.
That?
Looks like Yoda.
It could
be.
It's
like a cartoon Yoda,
it's got
actually.
A post-it note over it by the looks of things. Yeah, it could be Yoda. Steve, that's a really good catch. I'll take a screen grab of that later and I'll put that up on the site. That's
blow it up.
It does look like it. It certainly does look like it. But none of this stuff here we can really make much out of. Okay, moving on. Here we've got Ryan Johnson.
No, that's not Snoke, by the way.
On stage.
With Mark Hamill.
Yeah, it doesn't look like Snoke, but there's been some speculation that perhaps it is. If I frame through this...
No, it's got a funneled nose.
It looks like the horse to me. It looks the right like sort of size for the space horse. Right.
Definitely has an extended nose.
Yeah, we were talking earlier about the cave. Well, here's the cave full of water.
Okay, that's all full of water.
And we do see a character drop into that at some point.
Oh, he's got his X-Wing fatigues.
So we get Finn in some sort of fighter or gunner uniform.
So we know he wakes up then.
Yeah, definitely wakes up. There's a shot of him waking up.
In a minute, don't you?
This is the cave again with Luke and Ryan Johnson, or Mark Hamill and Ryan Johnson sitting down exchanging some notes. Luke in his
I'm really
Jedi
unhappy
garb.
with the direction of my character. Yeah.
I'll be very interested to see what part of the movie this takes place in because of Luke's attire. Does he immediately take Rey into a cave? Interesting. So here's Daisy sort of commenting on how bold Ryan's been with the direction he's taking things. So she says he's taken us into surprising areas, but they do make sense. So it's kind of cool. Then we get Carrie. Now, somebody pointed out this week that this looks like the landscape of Crate.
It does a little bit.
So we've got Carrie on Crate, and that's Rey in the foreground.
Yes, it is.
So that's kind of...
So possible, is this the funeral?
On Crate, not sure. Crate seems to be the location of the new Resistance base, which is an old rebellion base. I think they might be
preparing for it, judging by her fatigue, though.
Possibly. Right, so we'll move on from that. This is intriguing. So this is the act in the monitor here. So this is Rey passing the lightsaber, the Skywalker lightsaber, to Luke. Mark's got the green tape on his fingers. It's reference tape to replace his hand with the robot hand.
His metal hand.
This is the actual shot composition that we're seeing on the monitor. So what we're seeing isn't what we'll see on screen. It'll be much more from the angle of the shot at the end of...
I can't work out that
Force
monitor
Awakens.
at all.
Can you not?
Oh, I can just see her hand.
That's
now,
the
actually.
lightsaber there. That's Rey's cuff. There's
Yeah,
her hand.
I'm getting
And
it
that's
now.
Mark's hand there with the tracking markers on and the green tape on his fingers. So there's a wider angle of that exchange of Luke getting back the Skywalker lightsaber. This is Mark commenting on the direction that Ryan's taken things, Steve. That's what you heard earlier, right?
Yeah, which was either very well acted in itself and a whole contrived thing with Ryan, or slightly worrying.
Disturbing options. These are the actual Jedi steps on Skellig. This place, I absolutely need to go
massive
here.
Bob the Builder sitting at the top.
There is a massive Bob the Builder, yes. Or somebody with a canister with some filmmaking equipment in. Or maybe just some food for lunch. So I'm not sure where this is. I think this might be Dubrovnik. So we're on location with a crane. We're getting a nice crane shot. There's somebody here in a dark robe, which could just be one of those robes that the actors wear over. Can you see that character there? Excuse me, I've just gone a little bit too far. So there we've got. We're in Dubrovnik, on location in Dubrovnik. We've got the crane cam, and then just in front of the crane cam, we've got a character in a dark robe, and then behind him,
ground.
Can you see my
sorry, I need
mouse?
to scroll. Yeah, I haven't
see?
scrolled across.
To the right,
yes,
Steve.
I
yeah.
see. Yeah.
So there's a character right by the camera operator in a black robe, and there's somebody behind him in what looks like a ribbed helmet. Almost
Are these
like,
guys are Ren?
It could be. I'm wondering if this might be Snoke. Doesn't look big enough because we have heard that he's sort of 7 feet tall, but that could be.
Ooh, hang on, go back. There's you can see his face there, just there.
Yeah, it's only a scratch. I don't know if you can see enough.
Yeah, there's not a lot. It's it could
Very
be something.
flat.
It could be something that's not intended to be seen either. I'll take a screen grab of this and I'll put it out in the Facebook group and see what people can make of it. So that's quite interesting. That's in Dubrovnik. So I'll see if we frame advance and it fades to black. So there's not a lot in there. So here we see Kylo in a First Order setting. So we've got the Imperial pill lights behind him and the
Okay,
black
Mark,
floors.
that
Yes.
helmet.
Mm-hmm.
That helmet. Oh, that's the helmet you just saw on the guy in the previous frame.
Do you think?
Yeah, that's Ren. Oh no, maybe not quite.
It's not quite. It's the same.
Slightly different.
It's after a fashion, isn't it?
Okay, but then I think it's Ren then.
Could be. A Knight of Ren.
That's a really cool shot.
It's a cool shot, that one, isn't it?
Yeah.
If we frame advance slightly, because this shot goes, this is like the red, like a black floor with a red room. I think this is Snoke's throne room. I think that's what all the red is about. I think this is Snoke's throne. I think this is his throne room. And we will see him sat here in the final movie. There's more comments.
What's that thing
from
on the right?
Daisy.
Just on the right there, a big robot thing at the back.
Hang on.
Where?
At the
Oh
back.
yeah. What is that? Looks like a 209.
Yeah, it does look like a huge robot, doesn't it? Yeah.
Is it a dolly? Is it a dolly?
We
Blow
do,
that one up as well, Mark.
we do see, I'll take a screen grab of that. We do see Adam Driver doing some fight choreography later, and we had speculated previously that perhaps his training with Snoke might be him against droids. Maybe that's the way the Sith, or this new version of the Sith, maybe that's the way they train. So next shot, we're in the hangar with a couple of A-Wings and an X-Wing, and then there's a huge explosion. So I think this is what we've seen in the trailer where we see Captain Phasma enter that hangar. Then we get Ryan exchanging some comments with Carrie. Ryan wearing his jumper that's upset an awful lot of people. It's got a scorpion on it or something, or a lobster.
Why would that upset people?
I don't know. People just got their knickers in a twist over that. Then we got Daisy Ridley arriving on set, and then our main cast of heroes sort of having a giggle. I love to see this camaraderie. It's so genuine as well, isn't it? Because it's candid. It's nice to see. So now we appear to be back on Arc 2. Now she's
got her staff back.
She's got her staff back. And this, I think, is where we see her training in the trailer. You see there's monolithic rock sort of in the centre of frame there. I think this is where we see Rey training with a lightsaber in the trailer. And here we obviously see her prepared to use her staff. So Ryan's obviously queuing up this shot. And then you can just see him sort of let go as the shot goes into action.
Are they filming this in 3D?
It'll be converted, won't it?
Probably be a post-conversion because that's not a 3D camera, I don't think.
No, I was just thinking it's a very weird shot to put it in the...
What's that? That's cool.
This is the weapon of the executioner.
Of course it is.
And that's them with it there. So we're moving on to some action. There seems to be, if you see here, presumably a resistance member on his knees being held in place by another stormtrooper there. Can you see that?
Mm-hmm.
That is a disturbing image for a Star Wars movie, right? Then we get Rose, Kelly Marie Tran, talking about a character.
I'll tell you something about that horse. Is much more textured than the image we saw.
And smaller.
Much more textured.
Yeah, I think that one.
Don't know
it's got massive ears.
I don't know whether that's a fold image or what. I think they're the same species, but that's not the same horse.
I think this one is the finished version, and what we saw Ryan looking at earlier may have been
uncovered
before it had been skinned.
Oh, I see what you mean.
And before it had been developed to this stage. But the shape of its face and its scale,
because looks like Snoke, doesn't it? That thing.
Yeah, it's cool. It's really cool looking, isn't it?
Is that Alan Tudyk standing there?
And it's practical. Look at that thing moving. Isn't that great? Then we get this sort of crystal wolf thing. Not sure what to make of that. And then we get some more underwater cinematography. So this might be relating to that sea monster we've heard about.
Cave. Might be the cave.
Yeah, Rey diving in to the water. So there's definitely something
I had
going
a baby.
on there. And then there's this tiny little alien croupier, which I absolutely love this little thing. Look at his little waistcoat. What a superb little thing that is. So this is in a casino on Canto Bight, and you see him with his little croupier rake.
It reminds me of one of those things in Men in Black. Ones with the smoking.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Also reminds me of a Muppet. Then we get a shot of Lupita Nyong'o in a performance capture rig. So she's obviously reprising her role as Maz Kanata.
Good.
A lot less tracking markers. Paul, did you point that out this week? Someone pointed that out, that she's got a lot less tracking markers on her face than she had originally.
Why would that be? Because they've already got it from last time, maybe?
Yeah, it could be
their
that.
Technology's improved?
They're going to, maybe there's a lot less footage of Maz this time, and they can afford to do more keyframe animation on the face than they did previously. It could be any number of reasons. So this is...
I love this styling. It's
Laura Dern.
Superb. She
looks fantastic.
Yeah, it's taken the direction of the kind of styling that they were trying to do on Naboo and whatever in the prequels. It didn't quite work. Mm-hmm. He seems to have hit the flamboyance here in the correct manner.
Yeah.
I think this and the other images we saw in the same environment are absolutely beautiful. Seriously.
Yeah. She looks fantastic. I mean, Laura Dern's gorgeous.
Yeah, that's really,
a beautiful, beautiful woman. But there's sort of an understated elegance to the wardrobe.
It's
and
very
then this shock of hair, right? This purple.
Yeah, that's not an accident.
It's amazing, isn't it? She's got some sort of halo thing going on as well up there, I think. A little bit of tech maybe, but that's really cool.
Leia.
And she's greeting Leia, and I think that they're more like adversaries from what I'm hearing in this movie. So some of this might be a little bit false from, I think her name's Amelin Holdall, I think, in the movie, Laura Dern. Then we get a shot of Poe in a fighter Well, some sort of ship. I'm not even sure if that's a fighter. It looks much heavier than a fighter.
But he's only wearing standard earphones and a mic.
Yeah.
So what is going on there?
I'm not sure. These tracking markers, I think, are where they're going to comp in possibly the bubble from the cockpit, like the glass or something. So these are reference markers for lighting and what have you. But he's very, very cool. He's Captain Poe Dameron in this movie. Then we get a shot of General Hux in an Imperial environment. More banter from John Boyega. This I thought was really intriguing. This is Chewbacca on the Resistance ship, like Home 1. This is like the new version of Home 1. So clearly he goes back to be with Leia at some point, because we see Leia in this environment in the trailer. So he goes back to join the Resistance. There's some banter here between Ryan and some of the production crew about the Wookiee. Then we get that shot which leaked out earlier of Rey sprinting along the shore of Arc 2. At least I think it's the shore of Arc 2. It could be Dubrovnik, could it? What are we thinking?
Well, unless they're going to comp those islands out.
I'm not sure about this.
Really hard to tell where that is, mate.
Yeah, there's... I part of me wants to say, looking at a wardrobe, which looks very much the end of Force Awakens, that I suspect this is the beginning of the movie on Arc 2. And this is her running in to engage with the Knights of Ren. But something about the lighting here reminds me of that shot we saw in Dubrovnik. So, can you see there's a little GoPro mounted on top of this, the actual cinematic camera? That's pretty cool as well, isn't it? Probably so the director can see a live feed of it, I think. Then we get a shot of Captain Phasma. And Gwendolyn Christie talking about Captain Phasma. And then we're back on Skellig with Rey sort of training with the lightsaber.
I hope they're going to render that helicopter out of that scene.
Yeah. That's Luke's private helicopter. He won Jedi lottery before he moved to Arc 2. Do you think Luke is training Rey to be a warrior? She's got very, very interesting fighting style there. It's a little bit Ahsoka. With the... You
have to be there a long time, though, for it to be convincing. Because, otherwise it will be like Empire, where all of a sudden it seems like he's there that long and he comes out.
Well, this, we're on a still of that. Well, not a still, but we're on a frame of Daisy now. She's pretty much wearing the same costume and hairstyle as the end of Force Awakens, and we see her later completely redesigned. So I suspect there's a passage of time in the movie to reflect the amount of time that she spent on Arc 2 training with Luke. And we accept now that The Empire Strikes Back was like months.
That's a better scar.
Yeah, this is... so we're now on Adam Driver as Kylo Ren, wearing the cape, and also with his freshly relocated scar.
And also that scar will have been treated and 99% healed, so that's still bad. So
yeah.
That would have cleaved his head into originally.
Bacta doesn't work miracles, you know.
That's George Lucas in the background.
It's an older man.
What's he doing there?
It's an older man with a white beard, Steve. That's not George. Stop being so beardist. Then we get a shot of R2 on the Falcon. Very interesting. Chewie in the cockpit of the Falcon. Actually in the pilot seat as well, which is cool. 3PO on a Resistance ship or base of some kind. Are these blown out windows in the background? I see.
Looks like it.
Now this is the Luke that I'm really looking forward to. This is
You just better jump off the barge.
This is Luke on Arc 2. And
Rey's off to the left.
He's wearing... yeah, well spotted. I didn't see Rey previously. Well spotted. I think this is where Luke may be meditating, and we've heard that Luke will meditate and see a vision of the twin sons of Tatooine, and that's where he goes to sort of zone out. And he's wearing what they call a trash bag costume, so it's the short robe and the Count Dooku style tunic. I think he looks great. I think he's so much cooler.
Sack.
And a big sack.
What's in his sack, Mark?
Porgs. I don't know. Possibly porgs.
He's eating those Jedi birds.
Yeah.
He's catching and eating them.
That's how he keeps his metachlorian count up.
Yay, drinks.
So we get a shot of Carrie Fisher, and then we get John Boyega waking up. So Finn waking up.
With his white slippers on.
Yeah, he's got white slippers. Probably not going to be in the shot. and a bubble wrap suit, which is how he has been convalescing since the first movie. Then we're with Captain Phasma and the First Order troops in this siege, which we think is a hangar. Poe Dameron sliding across a surface of what I'm assuming is crate, judging by the colours. And then this casino footage, we got all these aliens in the background and everything. We got this guy flying through the air, but no explosion. So is he being propelled by a force user?
Is he an acrobat and he's doing something?
I think he's actually being hurled. I think he's like one of the hosts.
Maybe Chewie's thrown him.
Chewie would have to be in the scene.
I like the Ralph McQuarrie lighting.
Yeah, so that is awesome, and it looks like that. Do you remember that structure on Tatooine?
It does indeed.
Yeah.
The arch. Yeah.
Then we've got these really awesome little frog-like aliens in tiny tuxedos. I love these guys. Some of the cast and crew. This is our first look at Benicio del Toro as DJ on his ship, which is described as being very luxurious, almost like a yacht.
He's got a BB-8 unit on his knees.
And he's got BB-8 with him. I think that's actually the BB-8.
Okay. That gunning's cool.
Yeah, this gunner, this is Paige. So she is Rose Tycho, I think Rose's character name. Paige is Rose's sister. So pay close attention to what she's wearing, because that's going to be important in a minute. She's a gunner, and whatever happens to her may motivate Rose. So they're the guns. You can see the little LED bulbs in the end of those guns. They're pretty cool. Ryan Johnson on location. Marc on location. And this is Adam Driver training, sort of choreography training with a lightsaber, fighting two guys who have staffs. So who is he fighting?
Yeah, well, that's what's her face, isn't it?
They might literally be representing Luke and Rey.
Could be, unless these are stand-ins for Praetorian guards. But he's
or
the red one.
Maybe the Ren train amongst themselves.
Yeah, true. He's definitely training though, I think, at this point.
Definitely got a wobbly stick. Look, boing.
Yeah.
He's also got. Notice he's got the crosshair. The crosshair. What's it called? You know, the cross piece.
The cross guard. Yeah.
Okay,
moving on. There's the pre-shoot day, 1 of 100 sign that Ryan's holding with the principals.
Who's the guy on the right, left there, Mark?
Probably just a producer, I would think, or maybe he's the AD. I don't know him. So therefore I'm willing to ignore him. Then we get Finn or John Boyega on the Dubrovnik casino set of I'm saying Dubrovnik, I don't know, Canto Bight. Probably Pinewood. And then the ship that falls under attack in the main trailer. So we've got BB-8 there, practical BB-8.
Yeah.
See him rolling down the corridor?
Yeah. The speed is interesting.
General Hux rocking up in a limo with a very elaborate
like a Nazi
friend.
limousine, isn't it?
It's very much, isn't it? Yeah. Like land speeder. Then we move on to, we get another shot of Rey. Now Rey's training. Daisy's
with
training.
a big smile on her face.
Loving every second
people.
of that, isn't she? She's fighting 3 people. Again with staffs by the looks of things. So is this Rey versus the Knights of Ren? Or Rey versus the Praetorian Guard? Then we move on, we get John Boyega interacting with some extras. A stunt double, which I think is a stunt double for Rey, diving. Some effects from Canto Bight, which look great. Now, first look at the Porgs. They're awesome little things, aren't they?
They're the Jedi birds.
They're the Jedi birds, yeah. Some more location stuff. This is interesting. So this is Finn and Rose in disguise as First Order officers. So this is clearly going to be a principal part of their mission, isn't it? To infiltrate the First Order. And this is
they're
where
running a separate storyline, aren't they?
I think so. Yeah, they're going to have their own separate storyline, and this is where Finn will interact with a stormtrooper that is reportedly played by our favourite Tom Hardy. We get a number of Knights of Kylo Ren helmets in certain conditions. One looks to be gold. One's been smashed to buggery. An A-wing.
Tom Hardy, Mark.
Tom Hardy's going to have a cameo, yeah.
Hey.
Reportedly, yeah. Some A-wings being blasted with fire. Now, you remember I said keep an eye on Paige and what she's wearing. Here we see a character falling through what looks like some sort of munitions silo.
No, they're thermal detonators, aren't they?
They're quite large.
Oh, yeah, they are large.
And she's I think this is Rose's sister. I think this is Paige, who we'd just seen as a gunner. Falling there. Then we see some on-set action of Carrie with Oscar Isaac. BB-8 on set. More cast. Oh, and more Ray training. Daisy training with the staff this time.
Well, that there, Mark, go back a bit. Those boxes represent that rock at the end of the bit where she's...
Good pull, Steve.
Now, why is she hitting it? Is there something to do with that rock?
Yeah, do you think she's training with that rock and she trains first with the staff and then once she's proficient, she upgrades to the Skywalker lightsaber?
Possibly.
I think you're right, though, mate. That area that's been mapped out with mats definitely looks like the same sort of area as the top of that cliff. And if you look over here, the Skywalker lightsaber is laying down on the ground, isn't it? Ready for it. So, I think Luke might make her train with the staff, or she trains with the staff to keep her skill set current. But yeah, that pile of boxes, I think you're right, Steve. I think they're stand-ins for the rocks, and they've taken a beating, haven't they? So she's obviously unleashing all hell on these things.
I don't know if that's intentional.
What, the box damage?
Yeah.
You think Daisy's just getting carried away?
Yeah, she's swinging a big staff.
I'm sure it would be
probably
difficult
not that proficient with it, so we'll see. That's a superb set. Can you read all the writing on the arches?
No. Probably given some time. I don't know if it's Aurebesh actually, but
I don't think it is.
Ryan Johnson was saying that you could actually move through this set. It's live. So once everyone's sort of in action, you can move through the set and it's like a real thing as everyone's performing.
What's the size of that guy on the right?
This guy.
It's an arm.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? These are great. That's the guy from the insurance advert on TV.
Yeah, he looks like the guy. He looks like Creosote from Monty Python.
This really is quite luxurious, isn't it? And it looks like it might open up into the outside world there. It's a night sky. Very cool looking set. More characters, kind of a fly-through crane shot. Lots of aliens. I think we're going to get our alien menagerie in this film for sure. Mark and Carrie. A practical Porg on location. Billy Lord. Mark Hamill again on set. A huge explosion on a First Order ship.
Again, lots of red.
Yeah, lots and lots of red. And then we get John Boyega and Daisy Ridley doing what they do best, having fun with each other. But Daisy, we get a really good look at Daisy's Jedi costume here. It looks amazing, doesn't it? Qui-Gon hair, Obi-Wan style robes. Very cool. More of our heroes sort of about to embark on their mission, I'm sure. Another quick shot of Kylo Ren. Daisy with the cloak, every inch a Jedi. This is Carrie's comment about...
You can't become a Jedi too quickly.
No, but you know, Luke went off half-cocked, didn't he, in Empire. Not quite ready. This is Carrie's comments about how it's all about family. And she's interacting with people here that are obscured slightly. Not sure who this chap is. Could be Oscar Isaac, I guess. Not sure who this is. Could be Kelly Marie Tran as Rose. That looks like that might be Billy Lord. That uniform there looks like it might be Billy Lord. And possibly over this side, Finn. And that's it. That is the behind the scenes reel. Apart from this is Admiral Akbar stealing our line, which we stole from them. So that's the behind the scenes stuff. Pretty good, right? Pretty awesome little thing.
Send me your desktop, Mark. I think that's a Galaxy, isn't it? You got it on there?
It is, yes.
That's it looks like the Sombrero Galaxy.
Always up for a sidetrack, Stephen.
Yes.
I think this behind the scenes reel, I think it might actually even play better than the trailer.
Yeah, there's more in it to digest.
There's a lot to be picked through, isn't there?
We got that with Rogue One, though. Do you remember the first trailer we got was like 30 seconds, but the behind-the-scenes reel was like 3.5 minutes, wasn't it? So.
Yeah. I also like the TFA behind-the-scenes reel. The music alone is just stunning. So that's the behind-the-scenes reel for The Last Jedi. I'm not sure when the next trailer is going to come out. I'm not sure I'm ready for it yet. This will do me for a while, I think. But then we got a couple of bits of Last Jedi news. So, as always, potential spoilers. So if you did want to avoid anything said at D23 by Ryan and co, you might want to drop out now. The next few bits are going to be quite spoilery as well with Han Solo news. So give you a second to disappear. We'll see you next week. Okay.
No, please stay.
So Ryan says that Carrie's performance should make people very happy. Carrie gives a really beautiful performance in the film. But he says, we obviously didn't make the movie to be her final Star Wars movie. But given that, though, I think there are scenes that she has that are going to mean a lot to people. And there are scenes that we have with her where now not having her around, I watch them and I think I'm really thankful that we have that and we can give it to people. So he says...
I have to wonder if they can do their utmost and see if they can cut it in any shape or form to give her space in the next movie.
Oh, I don't know.
I doubt it very much. I mean, the scenes that she's in, you probably are very final to this movie.
Yeah.
I doubt they can splice that far. But
I think they made decisions. I think they made definite decisions.
Yeah, actually, no, they said they had, didn't they? Yeah, the decision had to be made. So
they'd made a decision not to change it, and I think they've made a decision.
What we do is we celebrate it and we pay tribute to it. It's as simple as that.
Very true. Very, very true. So he does go on to say, Ryan, that it will give some kind of catharsis, Carrie's performance, some emotional satisfaction, at least it does for him. So this has got me worried more than anything else about Star Wars right now, is how Carrie will leave the films, how the character of Leia will exist beyond this film, how we'll get rid of that aspect of Star Wars without noticing its absence. I'm not sure. It's very sad, very worrying element right now. I have confidence in just about everything else, but I'm very, very concerned about where they're going to take this Carrie Fisher thing.
No, they'll do it honourably. Don't worry.
I hope so. I just can't imagine it, and that's not saying much because I don't make movies for a living. I'm not really a writer. I don't understand how these things.
She wasn't in TFA a great deal.
No, they were very sparingly used. You're right. That is a good way to look at it. They're not on screen that much.
It's just the knowing of Carrie Fisher's farewell adds density to Princess Leia's. That's all. Yeah. That's why it's all so sketchy.
It's like you're fond of saying, Steve, you don't want this sort of intrusion in your film viewing, do you? You don't want real life to intrude on it too much.
Exactly. Yeah, you get enough of that in real life.
Yeah. And I'm kind of feeling that with you as well. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch. I'm not going to just be able to watch Leia in this movie. I'm always going to be seeing Carrie, and it will take me a good few times, I think, before I can put that behind me. But we'll trust Ryan in what he's saying.
It'd be nice one day to be able to make CGI characters that don't exist in the real world. Their voices are simulated, their look is... and then you can just keep them forever. How awesome would that be? And you can age them there'll be a program where you can age them 60 years and do a film 60 years ahead and then go back and do one and de-age the character
to 20.
With the That would be amazing, wouldn't it?
But what do we know
Would be
about
very
that?
romantic, though.
That sort of ability, though, Steve, it's always open to be misused, isn't it? It would never be used.
Look at Obama's face. They've made a video he never made. Have you seen that?
No.
They've got this new software that makes you can basically make any person say anything.
Oh, that's troubling.
Yeah, and he's saying something he never said, and it looks just like him talking.
That's the most persuasive way of rewriting history.
Mark, rewinding a little bit, I know you think I'm drawing a parallel that you you'll recognise the parallel, but I don't think it strikes us home for you quite as hard. But remember the Heath Ledger situation with Batman?
Yeah.
We lost Heath before the film came out in United Kingdom. I think they lost Heath just as it had started hitting the American screens. Not entirely sure, but we lost him before it came out. But it didn't take anything away from anything in the film, and all we did was celebrate his performance even more because of it. So
yeah,
it's that kind of parallel that you might want to draw with Carrie Fisher.
That does work, and they gave the character a life off screen, didn't they? Which they also did with Paul Walker in the Fast and Furious films. Where
indeed, yes,
they just let the character go, so that he still exists. He's just not going to enter frame. And I don't know if they can get away with that in Star Wars. I hope they can.
Think of how much you saw of her in TFA.
This is a really good point of view, actually,
situation.
Paul. I need to try and keep that in mind, I think. All right, let's move on to some more cheerful stuff, which is the 6 character posters that came out of D23.
What's with the red? There's red everywhere in this film.
Yeah.
We should have seen that when the first logo was issued.
Yeah, it's absolutely...
The Empire is red, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very important.
Red.
Part of Macquarie's design aesthetic for the Empire was that you had black and grey with accents of red. That was his design palette for the Empire, and obviously white. With this movie, I think, Steve, you're right. I think it's about blood. I think it's about the blood that ties us and about the blood we spill in the defence of that. And that, I suspect, will be the theme.
Is that almost a fake dripping effect on the bottom of each jacket, cloak, and so on, though?
I don't know about dripping. It could be. It's running. It's
just blood running. Yeah.
This, I think, if you look at it, the white almost, it reminds me of the salt flat like appearance of the Crate planet surface, and then the red is what breaks out of that planet once it's disturbed. And
the planet's bleeding.
I think it's gushing. So I think this is the theme. I think it's the blood that ties and the blood that that you spill in defence of that. I think that might be the theme here. But yeah, the red is very evocative. It's very Sith-like. It's something that we have on good authority. Snoke has clothing that's lined with red, very opulent clothing that's lined with red. So definitely a theme. I love these posters.
Sacrifice.
Yeah, it could be.
It's interesting that Kylo's also in there, like with all the good guys.
Indeed.
Snoke's not on a poster.
Yeah.
Maybe there is room for Kylo.
We're seeing a lot more of Kylo than we're seeing of any of the other characters as well, aren't we? These are all kind of cut off just below the eyes, but we're getting a little glimpse at Kylo Ren's face there. No helmet.
Yeah. No.
It's interesting that both Rey and Luke are holding a Skywalker lightsaber. No Jedi lightsaber for Luke. Maybe it's at the heart of this lightsaber, the Kylo Ren lightsaber. But I like these posters, guys. What do you think of these posters?
They're interesting.
Yeah. Interesting, good or interesting?
Different angle. Yeah.
It's a really cool different angle, to be honest.
I like the fact there's no
The only
eyes.
thing that lets it down a tiny, tiny, tiny jot is that Rey looks a little bit like Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Oh, it's interesting. They haven't got any eyes showing except for Kylo.
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's only just a profile of one.
Yeah, windows to the soul, the eyes. We don't
Maybe
need.
that's
We don't
alluring
need.
to the fact that you don't know what's going to happen.
We don't need to see the souls of our heroes.
Can you see his eye? Actually, I think he's covered in hair.
Yeah, not clearly. It is very interesting. The the design aesthetic is very interesting, very intriguing. I'd like to. I mean, we will know later on what the theme is, and we can come back and apply that knowledge to this and see what their intention was with the art. But I think it's kind of
maybe all of the jackets were reclaimed.
Maybe someone just left a red sock in the wash, but I think it's crate and the
Usually
minerals
because,
that come out of crate. I think that's basically the theme that you break that surface open. And what
so they were all
spilling
standing, chilling, all mind their own business. One of those craft went past and just splattered them.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah, well, they were on set during the filming. That's great. Well, that's it for Last Jedi news.
Oh, no.
So we're going to move on to some really cool Han Solo bits now. So from all the heartache and the trauma of this Han Solo thing over the past month or so, 6 weeks, we've now got to some really exciting stuff. So there was no mention of Han Solo at D23, no reference really beyond the fact that they mentioned that Kathleen Kennedy was in London working on Han Solo, sort of overseeing things with Ron Howard. So there was no message from Ron from the set. There was no art. There was no footage. Nothing, which I think was wise. What's your guys' take on that? Do you think that it was wise to keep
they need to
Han on mute?
Then take the attention away for a while.
Yeah, just leave it in the box for a bit.
Yeah, just let it lie. Absolutely.
Yes.
I think it's the best approach they could have taken. And then immediately off the back of D23, Ron Howard said, my Twitter account is now going to be all Han Solo stuff. So he's been putting out plenty of images on both Twitter and Instagram. And the first one that came out this week, which I think was on Monday, was a shot from the set of Eunice Sawamato. I think it's Eunice, actually. I keep pronouncing his name wrong. In the Chewbacca costume, overseeing a shot that they filmed, and this is Video Village, where they go and they just look at what has been filmed instantly, get instant playback of it. And I've put here a little in the show notes. Download the show notes from the description, and you'll see what we're looking at. I've done a little box out here, a close up of what's on the monitor, and a lot of people think that they're seeing two Jedi's, two
Wookiees.
My apologies, two Wookiees, forehead to forehead. Are you seeing that?
Oh, I don't see a Wookiee there.
Do you not think that's a Wookiee profile and that's a Wookiee profile?
They're wearing outfits, though.
Yeah, that's definitely clothed.
You think?
Oh, yeah, I don't know now, Mark.
Do you know
Could
if
oh, you mean Chewie's wife?
Yeah, possibly. If Chewie wasn't in the master image, in a large image, the wider angle image.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
I don't think I would have leapt to the conclusion. To me, that looks like the back of someone's head and the back of someone else's head together. And this is kind of like the back of someone's hair. That could even be the back of Han. Black waistcoat, white arm. It's but now someone's introduced the idea that that's the mouth of a Wookiee and that's the forehead of a Wookiee and this is a forehead of Chewie. I can't not see it now. I can't get away from it.
It looks more like something out of Planet of the Apes, the original.
Yes, it does. It does. Look
like the big coconut mouths.
So we'll see it when we see it in context. We'll go, oh God, all that barking up the wrong tree for ages, and that's not what it was at all. But yeah, interesting nonetheless. I love this stuff. I love this behind the scenes stuff. Here we got a shot of the next thing down that Ron tweeted out was Lando in the cockpit of the Falcon, which we see Ron overseeing on his monitor there. And you can kind of see the shirt. I've inset an image from last week where Ron had tweeted out the closet photograph. Do you remember him saying, whose closet is this? And it had all the uniforms in. We said they were very Star Trek-like. I think you can see a shirt there that looks like exactly what Lando's wearing in this shot, what Don Glover's wearing.
Same colour.
Yeah. So it's great. Lando on the bridge of the Falcon. How cool is that?
Look at the set, the colour in the background and so on. What's going on there?
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it? It looks like they're on like a sandy planet or something, maybe. And then this looks like rocks with sort of graffiti on.
I mean, they're not in Fuerteventura anymore, but are they on a studio set was based on what they did out there? That's the next thing.
Yeah, I think possibly. I'm 99% sure that they're in the UK filming now, so at Pinewood. So this might be where they built the Falcon, and it's and they're dressing the set to look like the location, to get these closer, more controlled shots in the cockpit environment and light it. And obviously, moving on to the last image that we got in the show notes, apply these sort of special effects to that environment practically. So this is the last picture there, came out, I think yesterday or the day before on Twitter. It was Ron tweeting that it's his first experience of hyperspace. And so you can see, can you make out what's going on here, chaps?
Yeah, it's a digital projection onto a curved surface.
Yeah, and the curved surface goes
Makes it
around.
go faster.
Inside the middle there will be the cockpit set of the Falcon on the inside.
Yeah.
So this screen wraps all the way around the perimeter of the Falcon set. And then you can see just on the monitors there, as they are setting up the shot, we've got Lando, again in the green shirt that we just saw in the previous tweet, on the bridge of the Falcon, which is all lit.
Yeah, that's cool.
Perfectly. So he is clearly taking the Millennium Falcon to hyperspace.
Stealing it,
doing the Kessel Run, bugging out. Maybe he's the getaway driver. There's some great stuff in there, though. Someone commented on the Facebook group the other day that you can see Han in the back, in one of the rear two seats.
You got to really zoom into that.
You got to, and then it will start to break down, I think, quite considerably. But it's interesting to think that Han would be in there, and he wouldn't even be the co-pilot. He's going to be in the back seats where the kids were sitting.
Might not have won it yet.
In A New Hope. Yeah, exactly. Really cool. I love this stuff. I tweeted at Ron Howard the other day that I absolutely love what he's doing from the set of Han Solo. And I invited him onto the show to talk about it as well. Obviously, that's never going to happen, but what an awesome thing that would be if we could get Ron Howard on to talk about Han Solo.
It'd be amazeballs.
It would be, absolutely. Happy days, that's what I'd say.
Come on, Ron, don't let us down. We're maybe small, but it's what we do with it that counts.
Yeah, we're small but perfectly formed.
Yep.
And so, end of the Han Solo set peaks. I love it. Keep them coming. I hope he's done one today. I haven't checked Twitter while we've been recording, but I hope he's done one today, because this stuff is just so exciting. And he's
done one.
All the craziness of the Lord and Miller firing and all that nasty taste has gone. Now I'm back in. I'm zoned in on this film, and I'm excited for it. I think it's this is the right thing to do. An open channel with fandom. Right, definitely. I think that's it.
Good.
I think that's
what you're not aware of is, as they're doing this massive hyperspace streaming in the background, they go, cue the noise.
Yeah. Enter Jim Carrey. Let's hope not. No Jims on this project. Okay. Right, let's wrap this thing up. Guys, you got anything you want to throw in before we move on?
Nope.
No, we're good.
Good to go.
I got to be honest, mate. I liked the fact we were image heavy tonight. That was nice.
Yeah, it was good, wasn't it? I hope it plays. I mean, a lot of this stuff is in the show notes, so people can look and follow along in the show notes as we go. And I think we've all seen the behind the scenes reel enough time to know what we're talking about.
We've all seen your behind. Yes.
Yes, you can scroll along through that video with us though if you want to check that out on YouTube. All right. Okay. Thank you again for joining us on Talk Star Wars. We appreciate every week you spend with us. We're sorry Rob couldn't be with us tonight, but I'm sure he will be back next week.
Yay!
Somewhat.
I'm not sure what Steve's cheering at. Don't forget to leave us a 5-star review in iTunes, or Apple Podcasts as it's called these days, and take advantage of our Ron Burgundy guarantee. Whatever you write in a 5-star review, we will read, as long as it's clean. So if you want to promote something like a blog or a podcast, that might be the place for you to do it. You can also email us your questions and comments to talkstarwarsinfo@gmail.com, or you can reach out to us on one of our many social networks, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram and more. Gentlemen, where can people find you on Tinternet between shows?
Well, I'm on Wild About Nature on YouTube and Twitter, Stephen_Ware as well. And also you can now buy my habitats, and some of the money goes to charity. So you can buy it, and I'm starting a little venture called Happy Tats.
Are you linking out to that from your Twitter profile, Steve?
Bit.
Okay. It's just I want to be able to put a link in the show if you're not. If there's a separate link.
It's pinned on my Twitter page.
Oh, good. Okay, so Peter, at least
kind of see it on there.
There's one place for people to go for that. Yeah, check them
out. Yeah, I haven't got a website or anything like that. Small potatoes.
Did you say happy twats?
I hope not. I hope I didn't get a typo.
We nearly made it through the whole show without anything contentious being said. Paul, where can people find you?
You'll find me on moviescorenews.com. You won't actually find me, but you'll find a news aggregate of what's going on in them with movie music and so on. You'll find me on Facebook at Moviescore News. You'll find me on Twitter at Moviescore News.
Superb. Yay. You can find everything Rob does on Twitter at RobWadeVision and check him out on emotionally14.com. And you can find everything I do at talkstarwars.co.uk, and I'm on Twitter at talkstarwars. That's about it, I think, for this week. Stick around for the promo for the Star Wars Commonwealth. There are plenty of shows in there that need your attention and deserve your time. They are awesome. Other than that, all that's left to say is thank you once again, and we will see you guys next week.
Take care of each other, please.
Get on out.
Talk Star Wars is a proud member of the Star Wars Commonwealth Podcast Network. Find us at starwarscommonwealth.com alongside
the Tumbling Saber Podcast,
the Generation X-Wing Podcast,
the TSW Roundtable,
the Skyhoppers Podcast,
and the Nerd Room Podcast.
Head to starwarscommonwealth.com. Take your first steps to a larger world.
It's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Let's talk about Loot Crate. Are you on a quest for epic gear, housewares and collectibles? Loot Crate offers an epic range of pop culture items for less than $20 per month. Whether you're shopping for the geek in your life or you are that geek, Loot Crate is the best surprise you know is coming. Every month there's a different theme and new and exclusive items that you can only get with Loot Crate. Treat yourself every month or give the gift of geeking out to a friend or a loved one. You have until the 19th at 9 PM Pacific to subscribe and receive that month's crate, and when the cut-off happens, that's it, it's over. Make sure to head to lootcrate.com/talkstarwars and enter the code TalkStarWars and save $3 off your new subscription today.